All right, round 13. Ian Robb with the Arceus Inteleon Bird Box versus Isaiah Bradner with Arceus Inteleon. And I think this one is definitely an advantage for Ian, because Ian does play the Zapdos and Isaiah does not play Dunsparce. So I definitely give Ian the advantage overall, I think. Prize card is not great for Isaiah. Did prize 2 V-Stars and only plays 3 of those, so that's not great prize cards to start with. But the rest of it besides that's not terrible. Pricing Sable's not bad. The Zigzagoon, not terrible either. Double Quick Ball from Ian could be some trouble to help to set up early on. We'll see if that actually ends up affecting them or not. And it looks like we have Ian going first. Opens the Arceus, has the level ball for the Sobble, and we'll see if he's got the energy or not. And I think the quality dropped on this. I don't know why it does that. Actually, it looks like the quality of the camera like changed. The overhead cam, it looks like the quality of the overhead camera changed. All right, attachment to Arceus pass. Isaiah's going to be looking for the same. A Trinity charge here from Isaiah would also not be terrible, but not super likely to have happen. Has the attach active? Is it the attach active pass? It might be. There's probably a V-Star in the hand here for Bradner, but this is a good start for Ian. This is a good like good advantage for Ian for sure. Actually, I don't know if Ian plays Zigzagoon here. It could be a donk. I don't think Ian plays the Zigzagoon though. I could be wrong on that though. I don't think Ian plays Zigzagoon, but if Ian plays Zigzagoon, it could be Choice Belt plus Zigzagoon and knock out the Arceus V. But I'm pretty sure Ian does not play the Zigzagoon. Balloon to the bench, and then research. Probably just going to look for a hit and try and set up the Zapdos, because Ian probably knows that Isaiah does play Paths of the Peak, so you want to get the extra energy on the Zapdos. We'll see what Ian ends up grabbing here, though. Goes for a level ball for a Sobble. And then just attacks to the active and does not actually get the Zapdos yet. I guess you don't need the Zapdos quite yet because you can 2-hit KO this first Arceus and then set up energy on the Zapdos for the next Arceus. The one play that you could gain, though, by setting up the Zapdos now is being able to go boss KO an Arceus V off the bench on the next turn while leaving this one damaged. But again, I guess you just want to attack into it anyway. So I guess this actually just sets up the best for Ian, because you know they're probably attacking with the Arceus V on the next turn. Yeah, there's the Arceus V-Star from Isaiah, and then here comes the V-Star power. So probably gonna get a draw supporter plus a DTE unless there's a DTE in the hand. So pretty rough start still from Isaiah. Still has nothing to work with. Like, had to use the V-Star power to pretty much get everything here. Maybe didn't have the cape to put on the Zapdos. Oh, that's true. If they don't have the cape to put on the Zapdos, you probably don't want to put it down immediately, because then it could just get boss KO. That is very true. Yeah, I didn't think about that. But yeah, you probably want to get the cape on it in the same turn that you put it down. Oh, I guess Ian did have access to the V-Star power still, but Ian trying to hold off on using the V-Star power, and this is what you want to do. You don't want to use the V-Star power if you don't have to. And Ian does know that Isaiah plays Path to the Peak, but Ian also plays stadiums themselves that are not Path to the Peak, so they can bump it and then use the V-Star power on a following turn. There it is. Path to the Peak comes down. Choice Belt gets put down into play as well. But like I said, Ian does play their own stadium card. Couple Sobbles. No other V would be pretty bad here for Isaiah, though. And there's the attack with no other V Pokemon. So this is actually pretty rough for Isaiah. Isaiah could possibly pull off a knockout on this Arceus next turn with an Arceus V, with a Melanie and a DTE. Yeah, that should be enough damage, right? Yeah. But this is still a pretty bad spot. And then here comes the V-Star power from Ian. Probably going to set up the Zapdos this turn, and it looks like it is eyeing up the Zapdos and the Sobble here, or even the Quick Shooting Inteleon as well, maybe? We'll see, because you could start to pressure the Sobbles. It doesn't do a whole ton, I don't think, but you could do it. There's the Quick Shooting. There's the Zapdos with the cape, and then here comes the Quick Ball, looking to get rid of a Research, it looks like, then probably grab another Sobble, more options through the Shady Dealings. Training Court for a Dark Energy. And then I think just, yeah, takes the knockout, loads up a bunch of energy on the Zapdos. And this is where this gets really scary for Isaiah. This is definitely not a good situation for Isaiah to be in right now. The Zapdos is fully set up. It has the cape. Ian's in like a really good spot here for sure. And also the quick shooting onto the Sob was a little bit interesting to me from Ian. It definitely feels like something you didn't need to set up, but like if there was nothing, if you're going to use Starburst no matter what that turn, you need to grab something. And also you just want to make sure you want to make sure you get your Starburst off to get some kind of value in play. You don't just want to put the training card in play. Actually, don't put a training card in play there at all. But before the Marnies start getting thrown out and put into play, and then you start like whiffing your stadiums or whatever and can't use your Starburst, you do want to use it and like set up a pretty good board state as soon as you possibly can. So Marnie here from Isaiah, and this is where Ian's going to be looking to start chasing down the Arceus from Isaiah. Also, I guess setting up the quick shooting means that with a choice belt, Arceus can KO other Arceus V. So I guess that's a pretty reasonable reason to want to get the quick shooting in play. So then with choice belt, you can chase Arceus Vs from here on out with your Arceus and don't have to use your Zapdos. But Zapdos would probably be just like fine here. If Ian's got a boss here, going boss KO the Arceus is just fine with the Zapdos, I'm sure. And we'll see if Ian can get it. Ian does need another energy on that on that Zapdos though. So it has the energy search, Drizzile for boss, and to be honest, I wouldn't be surprised if Isaiah scooped here soon to conserve time, because these games can go a while, especially if Isaiah is able to use Charon's Care or multiple Charon's Care throughout a game. But this one is definitely a pretty tough spot for Isaiah, so I wouldn't be surprised to see Isaiah scoop here. Doesn't even have another Arceus in play to potentially respond to the Zapdos, but there's no such thing as a good response here to the Zapdos for Isaiah anyways. Even if you had an Arceus, it's like almost impossible to... You can't even want to KO the Zapdos anyways. Like, the Zapdos is just like so insanely good up against the Arceus. It almost makes me feel like the Arceus Inteleon decks has to start including Tool Scrapper for sure. Or maybe just Dunsparce. Maybe Dunsparce would be enough, because Isaiah doesn't play Dunsparce either, so that would be something else to include. Okay, so let's go back and look at that. So the big one here, of course, is the Fighting Energy is prized for Ian. And then on Isaiah's side, double Arceus V are prized. So one Arceus V being prized isn't terrible when you play 4. Pricing 2 of them when you plan to want to utilize Sharon's Care is pretty rough, though. So 2 Arceus V prized is pretty rough. The Fighting Energy is probably the biggest thing that's prized here for Ian, though. No Fighting Energy means it's going to be pretty tough for Ian to, or just impossible for Ian to use Zapdos. And you can't even really bluff the Zapdos either, because if you don't put it in play and accelerate energy to it, your opponent basically knows you prize the Zapdos or you prize the Fighting Energy. So if they can just like stop you from drawing prize cards throughout the game, then they can stop the Zapdos from becoming a relevant factor. So that's like a pretty big deal on Ian's side. Like, you can't even bluff it. Like, you're not trying to put down the Zapdos in a turn and attack with it. You're trying to set it up ahead of time because of Path to the Peak in Isaiah's deck. You can't really afford to not... because of the Path to the Peak in Isaiah's deck, you can't really afford to not have the Zapdos in play with energy set up already, because then you just risk not being able to utilize it anyways because your opponent has Path to the Peak. If they have Path to the Peak in play, you can't just drop it even with a Raihan and get the knockout on an Arceus. So you do kind of need to set up the Zapdos ahead of time. So Isaiah should know when Ian chooses to like not set up the Zapdos when it looks like there was a chance to. Isaiah should basically know that either the Fighting Energy or the Zapdos is prized. Gets a Sobble off the Quick Ball, attach active, and then pass. So this is basically the exact same thing we saw in the first game. Now it's over to Isaiah with the research, and we'll probably see the Arceus come out here. I'd be very surprised if Isaiah whiffed the Arceus here. He has so many outs of the Arceus here. Even just like a Sobble or something gets you there. Gives up the Charon's Care here off this Ultra Ball. That's a little bit surprising, but if you are getting this first hit as Isaiah, it maybe isn't that big of a deal. So yeah, gives up the Charon's Care immediately here, and actually has the one-hit KO here on this Arceus V with the Goon play. And this is actually why the Goon is like really good in Arceus decks, because you can go the Choice Belt, Goon active, Choice Belt DTE, and it's the KO on the Arceus V here for Isaiah. Now there is no other Arceus to accelerate energy to, but you're just not scared of it here as Isaiah. You just don't need it. You don't need an Arceus accelerator here too. So to be honest, I wouldn't be surprised if... I don't want to see Ian scoop just yet, but Ian's in a pretty tough spot for sure. Yeah, this is actually a really, really tough spot for Ian, because Isaiah's going to probably go up 3 prize cards before Ian draws a single prize card, and then even on that next turn, Ian might not draw a prize card. So what's going to happen here is Ian's probably going to pass with something in the active. Isaiah's going to knock it out, and then Ian will finally hit, and then Isaiah can go like 1, 2, 3 to close out the game from there. So yeah, pretty terrible spot for Ian to be in, to be honest. The Goon's pretty good in that situation. The Goon's pretty good, getting me that Arceus KO there. There we go. Marnie off the Dealings, and then Sobble with an energy, net, send up Sobble, bench Sobble, Marnie. And I looked, yeah, see, it's going to be a keep calling for Ian, just kind of give up a sacrifice here. And it is possible for a comeback. Like if Isaiah can't find any more Arceus Vs, and we do know 2 of them are prized, and I don't think they've been drawn out of the prize cards yet. Maybe one of them was. It is possible for Ian to make a comeback. Maybe you just have to get through this one Arceus, but if Isaiah finds 2 more Arceus and sets them up, the game is basically over at that point, I feel like. And we'll see if Isaiah can do it. There's a Shady Dealing, so at the very least, I could even just grab a Quick Ball or an Ultra Ball to get another Arceus, but it looks like they're eyeing up the Research. There's some options in the rest of the hand as well. Yeah, it ends up just going with the Research. I see an Evolution Incense. I'm gonna probably grab another Shady Dealings Drizzile, maybe. Could just fail it as well, and that's what they go with. They do need to find some Arceus, but they don't want to waste their Shady Dealings. Goes with another Sobble on the bench, and then I would assume the Research is going to happen here. You just basically need to set up Arceus. And actually, to be honest, it looks like he's going to get Goon out of play as well. I don't even know if you have to get an Arceus this turn. That's how far ahead Isaiah is. You don't even have to get an Arceus this turn. You just need one eventually. It would be nice to try and thin out your deck as soon as possible, though, so the chance of Marnie kind of bricking you isn't there. And it looks like Isaiah's going to go with the Path to the Peak instead. And the Path to the Peak gets the Arceus, gets the Path to the Peak. So now with the Path to the Peak, you play around Zapdos plus Raihan, knocking out your active. Not that that would be even that scary in this situation, I don't think. Zapdos plus Raihan would actually be pretty scary, to be honest. So you get the Path to the Peak here. That lessens the chance of that happening. It is still a possibility, though, for Ian. Of course, we know it's not a possibility because the Fighting Energy is prized, but Isaiah knows it's still a possibility, so going to play around that as much as possible. Gets 3 water onto the bench Arceus, but probably, actually, if the Zapdos play happened with a cape, I don't think Isaiah could KO it, to be honest. But Ian would have needed a lot this turn, but it is also just impossible because we know the Fighting Energy is prized. So Air Balloon to the Sobble. And then I don't even know what Ian's looking for this turn, to be honest. Once again, it still feels almost impossible. I guess if you can get access to the Fighting Energy, there is a possibility to come back in this one for Ian, but you need to find... you do need to find that Fighting Energy, I feel like, for sure. You have to find that Fighting Energy. Looks like there was a Research for 7. Yeah, I don't even know if Ian's going to be able to attack this turn still. Let's see. Level Ball. Can maybe put together a Moltres hit. I think you have to maybe eventually... Yeah, you can't just sit here and not attack. Well, could you? I guess you could and then look for a 1-hit KO on the following turn, maybe. I think Ian is going to go for the hit here into the Arceus. I don't know if it's going to change very much, though. Okay, gets the hit here for, I don't even know, 150, it looks like. 150 damage here. Charon's Care, not a possibility for Isaiah, I don't think, unless he can find the Pal Pad and then find the Charon's Care after that. I think it made its way to the discard pile earlier on in this one. I could be wrong on that. I'm pretty sure it is there. We'll see. There's an Ultra Ball. Probably just going to grab another V-Star. Could grab some piece of Inteleon. Could also grab the other V and just set up 3 Vs. That way you could just kind of go boss to win the game and give yourself as many options to close out the game as possible. Because now you could like go boss KO Drizzile and then get the V-Star on the turn after. There's like some options there for sure, and ends up going with a Marnie after that. So yeah, I like setting up the other V before the V-Star here. Just make sure you get that attacker set up, because you can also just go boss KO Drizzile, or if they attack with Moltres again, the V does actually KO Moltres as well. Gets a V-Star, ends up evolving one of them into the V-Star. Big Charm for it as well, and then there was like Water Energy in the deck. I wonder if it's ever better. The only thing here I don't like maybe is you maybe don't want to evolve this one, because you might want the triple basic energy on the V, because then the V could KO Moltres, but now this V can't KO Moltres. So if you go knockout like this to draw a prize card, and then they go Moltres again, knock out this Arceus V-Star, you can't go V knockout that, and then save the V-Star for later on, potentially into the Zapdos, if you whiff the boss but have to KO their active, and their last Pokemon they attack with is the Zapdos. Yeah, that's the only thing I'm thinking here, is I'm not sure I like that play from Isaiah. I almost feel like you maybe should have not evolved and then had the V be the one with triple basic energy. So that way, because the V, unless you get the quick shooting in play, if you don't get the quick shooting in play, I guess maybe it doesn't matter either way. I guess there's maybe a situation both ways where it ends up being bad, to be honest. I guess it's pretty close both ways. Because if you need to KO if you need to KO Moltres next turn and you want to use the V and not the V-Star, you need triple basic energy because the DTE plus basic energy only does 130, which is 210, which isn't enough to KO the Moltres because the Moltres has 120 or 110, and the Moltres has 120. But if you find quick shooting, it shouldn't matter either way, I guess. But then you do have to find the quick shooting to KO the Moltres, baby Moltres. Another dealings from Ian. Goes back to the shady dealings again. I mean, Ian's definitely going for it. It is. I was talking earlier, like I was saying, like maybe I was feeling like maybe Ian should have scooped it, but it's still possible for Ian to win. It feels pretty tough for Ian to have a shot to win here, though. Goes for Clara and Raihan. Going to be able to Clara here and get the Moltres back, and then attack with Moltres once again. Once again, like I said, Isaiah can kind of always win the prize trade here. There's the Moltres. Gonna get the knockout. And Ian can get the return knockout with, or Isaiah can get the return knockout with the Arceus. But has to use the V-Star now. This is what I was talking about. Like if you left the Arceus V open with 3 basic energy, then you could have attacked with that Arceus, right? But now you have to use the Arceus V-Star. I don't know if I can't see Isaiah's hand, so I don't know if it's relevant, but you possibly could have got this knockout with an Arceus V instead of a V-Star. But now you have to commit to the V-Star to take this knockout, I think. Unless you have the quick shooting. If you have the quick shooting, then you are fine. Or if you have the other V-Star. Having the other V-Star basically does the same thing as well. There's a quick ball from Isaiah. Gets rid of the Bidoof. Dude, so many people have been playing the B-Barrels, but we've seen so little Bidoofs make their way to the field. Grab Sobble. Retreat, trading core for water. Okay, so it looks like they has to go with the V-Star here. Get the knockout. I don't think Ian's drawn the fighting energy out of the prize cards yet. I'm not 100% sure. I think it's in the next 2 prize cards. So no fighting energy for Ian yet. There's a quick ball. And I think this one is basically... This one might be basically wrapped up. We'll see here. We'll see if... Yeah, so the fighting energy... There's no access to the fighting energy for Ian yet. There's the Zapdos grab. But the Zapdos actually can't take the knockout here. Arceus V. And then there's a Marnie... So Ian can send up the I don't even know. Yeah, I think it's gonna be a scoop. Oh yeah, Ian concedes. Okay. I was like trying to come up with some way where they have a chance to win there, but I was like, I'm pretty sure there's no way out of it right now. I'm pretty sure there's no way out of it. There's no way out of it. All right, let's get to game 2 or game 3. 1-1. Isaiah versus Ian. Check the prize cards again. So this time the fighting energy is not prized, which is a pretty big deal. 2 basic dark are prized. That could come up. Nothing really super relevant on Isaiah's side. The Moltres V isn't super relevant in the matchup. So 2 basic dark could come up where it's harder to set up the Moltres. The baby Moltres or just whiffing that turn 1 attachment from Ian. But nothing too relevant, I think, on either side, to be honest. Okay, turn 1 gets the Sobble, turn 1 Arceus gets the attachment, gets the air balloon, and then pass over to Isaiah. Isaiah opens the Bidoof, so we might actually see some B-Barrel action. We'll see. Isaiah's just going to be looking for the same thing. Arceus plus energy is going to be the same thing that Isaiah is looking for. Opens with an Ultra Ball, and we'll probably see an Arceus got rid of an energy, so probably has an energy. Has the Arceus, and then should have an energy for it. And then if they didn't do anything else this turn, that would probably be fine. You don't really need too much after that, to be honest. If you got Arceus energy, that's all you're looking for on the first turn anyways. It has the Evolution Incense in hand as well. Even has the Melanie. Okay, so Melanie gets some extra cards in the hand, and then yeah, has the out to the V-Star on the next turn, and we'll probably go from there. And let's see what Ian is able to set up on their turn. There's a Sobble. And pass. Okay, Ian has the shady dealings, so we know the okay, what's it called plays in there. There's a research, and yeah, Ian has not used the V-Star power yet, so this could be a really big turn from Ian. We could see the Cape plus the Zapdos get grabbed this turn, plus knock out the Bidoof, and then be in a really good spot. I'm curious to see if Ian goes for that or kind of holds off, and he grabs the Zapdos immediately. V-Star power to search out the Cape for it to protect it from getting boss KO'd. And then yeah, Ian's gonna be in a basically the same spot they were in game 1, being a really good spot here. Level ball as well, probably to grab another Sobble. Really set up, scooping out on the Drizzile, has a Drizzile option next turn. Knock out the Doof, and then 3 energy to the Zapdos. Okay, so it's got the fighting energy on the Zapdos again with the Cape. So now this is where it gets weird for Isaiah on... I'm curious to see what Isaiah actually does. You could try and punch the Zapdos. If you could get Choice Belt plus Basic Water, Boss punch the Zapdos, you actually do 230 damage, which means if you can get a quick shooting on the following turn, you actually effectively 2-hit KO or 1-hit KO the Zapdos, which I think overall is a fine trade-off for Isaiah. If Isaiah can get that trade-off, I think he's fine with that. The question is does he have a hand that can do that? Because you also need to set up another Arceus in the same turn as well. Oh, the Zapdos just KOs the Arceus, and then you can't attack with Arceus for a turn. And then even if you get the quick shooting to KO Ian Zapdos, they just have a free turn to attack with an Arceus, which puts them in a pretty good spot anyways, I think. So you do kind of need, I think in this situation, you do kind of need like the full play here. And we'll see if Isaiah has it. Or maybe Isaiah just goes for a hit on the active and sets up for that play on a later turn, which I could see as well. I could see Isaiah just hitting the active here and then setting up for basically the same thing on a future turn where you effectively one-hit KO. But no, but goes for the play immediately, so has it. Oh, no, they use their V-Star power as well. I didn't even see Isaiah use the V-Star power. So it has the boss hit plus Crobat for 6 and is looking for another Arceus, hopefully, to put down on the bench. Has the Arceus. And then Ian can go ahead and get the knockout with the Zapdos here. Oh, has the double Goon Ping too. Oh my gosh, bro. What a draw. I didn't even see he had the KO here. He has Goon plus Net. So digs all the way for everything and draws into it and gets the KO on the Zapdos. Okay, that was crazy. That was a crazy turn. The thing is, though, Isaiah did put this Arceus V in play. So it is possible for Ian to go Clara plus Training Court and knock out this Arceus back. So Ian can go Clara plus Training Court here and actually knock out this Arceus back. And I think that is what Ian is going for here. Yeah. So if Isaiah just hadn't played that Arceus there, then it would have been in quite a better spot. Actually, Isaiah told me about when this play happened, and Isaiah said that he was playing around Energy Switch, because sometimes this deck plays Energy Switch. So you could have, because you can E-switch off Moltres to other Pokemon. So they could have had Zapdos Energy plus E-switch off the Arceus. Isaiah thought that they was potentially playing Energy Switch and could have got the KO anyways, and that's why he wanted to bench this extra Arceus down on the bench. So we get the Zapdos return knockout here from Ian, and now Isaiah has no V-Star power to work with and needs to find a way to KO the Zapdos, or is going to be in trouble for sure. Or just get a Pat to the Peak and play, to be honest. If Isaiah whiffs the knockout here, as long as you get a Pat to the Peak to make it so it maybe can't attack next turn, you're probably going to be in a pretty good spot. You could also KO it here with Choice Belts. So the Choice Belt's gone, so you get Quick Shooting plus a DTE here. But it's just a Marnie for 5, so pretty unlikely to probably pull that off. We'll see, though. Has another Arceus. I don't think quite hit the knockout. Probably would be playing a little bit more aggressively if Isaiah had hit the knockout. There's Training Court for an energy. Another Arceus gets benched. Oof. Pat to the Peak and pass. I think there is a Training Court left. Yes. So Ian's got the Training Court. Can bump the Pat to the Peak. And then Ian can have Boss on the following turn with their... Oh, wait. What the heck? There we go. Okay. And then have... I'm trying to pause it, unpause it. So it has it attached. It can attach to Zapdos. Okay, I'm a little bit behind now. There we go. Training Court. Energy off the Training Court or energy out of hand. Zapdos KOs the active. Actually, you don't even need an energy off the hand or off that. You can just... You don't even need an extra energy on the Zapdos. You can probably put it on the Moltres maybe even. Or on the Arceus. Doesn't really matter. And then Boss would win Ian the game on the next turn. Yeah. Yeah, Boss will win Ian the game on the next turn on a Zigzagoon, on the Crobat, on the Drizzile. Has triple Drizzile in play, but I don't think Isaiah has any more Marnie. I think Isaiah is down both Marnie. So if Ian just has the Boss in hand or has an out to the Shady Dealings Inteleon, I think Ian has a pretty big hand here as well. Then Ian will just win. There's nothing that Isaiah can do about it, I'm pretty sure. And yeah, there's the Boss. And Ian wins 2-1. Pretty close set.